Don't drink it. It's a trap. Leave now. Those were the 5 words I wrote with a shaking hand on a cocktail napkin, slid across polished mahogany toward the most dangerous man in the city, and prayed he would read before it was too late. Because if he didn't, he would be dead within minutes, and if he did, I had no idea whether he would thank me or break my wrist for interfering. The first thing you notice about the Ember Lounge after midnight isn't the music, it's the quiet underneath it. The bass hums low and seductive. Crystal glasses chime in careless toasts. Laughter ripples in soft waves across velvet booths. But beneath all of it lives a calculating silence, the kind that belongs to money that never sees daylight and power that never needs to shout. I moved through it all like smoke in a black vest and starched white shirt, hair pinned tight, smile polite and forgettable, because being invisible is safer than being noticed in a place like this. My name is Lena Marquez, and for 3 years I have poured rare whiskey for men who call each other brother while their eyes measure each other's coffins. That night the air changed the moment he walked in. No announcement, no bodyguards shoving people aside, and yet the crowd parted as if an unseen current dragged them back from the shore. Nikolai Dragunov entered the Ember Lounge with the calm inevitability of a storm front rolling over open water, tall and broad-shouldered, dark suit cut so sharply it looked like it could draw blood, silver threading his black hair at the temples, his presence heavier than the bass vibrating through the floor. I had heard his name whispered in the back corridors of the club, in the alley where staff smoked between shifts, in my father's old stories about men who built empires from fear and loyalty in equal measure. They called him the Wolf of Eastport, a businessman to the newspapers, and something far less printable to those who understood how fortunes were truly made. His eyes swept the room not with curiosity but ownership, pale and steady, assessing exits, corners, threats, and for one terrible second they paused on me. I lowered my gaze immediately, polishing an already spotless glass because I have learned that men like him notice everything, especially when someone notices them. His entourage slid into the reserved corner booth, a wall of tailored suits and discreet earpieces, but he detached from them without a word and approached the bar. My bar, each step on the marble floor echoing louder in my pulse than in the room. "Vodka," he said when he reached me, voice low and controlled, the kind that doesn't need to rise to command obedience. "Neat." I nodded, throat tight, reaching for the premium bottle with hands that have never trembled before tonight. I could feel his gaze on my back as I poured, precise and measured, and I told myself this was just another drink, just another powerful man passing through. But then Marcus Hale slid onto the stool beside him, all slick smile and restless fingers. Marcus was a floor manager who had risen too fast and smiled too hard, and I had never trusted the way his eyes darted when certain clients came through. "Allow me," Marcus said brightly, intersecting the glass before I could place it down, his tone just a shade too eager. Before I understood what he was doing, he produced a small vial from inside his jacket, something unlabeled and innocuous, and with a flourish that made my stomach drop, he tipped a single clear drop into the vodka. It vanished instantly, dissolving without a ripple, and no one around us noticed because no one was looking for it. But I was. I saw the way Marcus's fingers shook after, the sheen of sweat along his hairline, the hungry anticipation in his eyes as he set the doctored glass in front of Nikolai. I had seen that look before on my father's business partner the night my father never came home. The night the ambulance lights painted our apartment walls red and blue while neighbors pretended not to watch. My father used to say, "Don't get involved, Lena. Survival means knowing when to look away." And for 3 years I had done exactly that, swallowed every suspicious glance and overheard threat because rent is expensive and fear is cheaper than a funeral. But watching Nikolai Dragunov reach for that glass fractured something in me. Maybe it was the memory of my father's hand squeezing mine in the hospital. Maybe it was the realization that Marcus wasn't just nervous but desperate. Or maybe it was simply that I was tired of being a ghost in my own life. I grabbed a napkin and scribbled the words before I could think better of it. "Don't drink it. It's a trap. Leave now." The ink blotting slightly where my hand shook, and as Nikolai's fingers closed around the crystal tumbler, I slid the napkin across the bar so it stopped inches from his wrist. I didn't look at him, didn't breathe, just turned toward the sink and pretended to rinse a glass that didn't need rinsing, bracing for chaos. The music thudded on, oblivious. Seconds stretched thin as wire. I heard the faint rustle of paper and felt the shift in the air as his attention dropped from the drink to the napkin and then, inevitably, to me. Marcus's smile faltered. I counted my heartbeats. 1, 2, 3. Then instead of the crash of glass or the scrape of a chair as he stormed out, I felt fingers encircle my wrist, firm and unyielding, pulling me back toward him. The grip wasn't painful, but it was absolute, warm against my pulse as if he were measuring it. I looked up despite myself and met his eyes at close range, pale gray and utterly unreadable. No anger there, no shock, only a deep, assessing curiosity that made me feel as though he were cataloging every secret I'd ever kept. He hadn't touched the vodka. He hadn't signaled his men. He hadn't left. He leaned slightly closer, voice dropping low enough that it belonged only to us despite the crowd surrounding us. Why? He murmured, thumb pressing lightly against the frantic bead in my wrist. Would you tell me that? And in that suspended moment, with Marcus frozen beside him and the poisoned glass gleaming under amber lights, I understood that saving his life might cost me my own. He didn't release my wrist immediately. That was the first thing I understood. This wasn't panic, and it wasn't gratitude. It was calculation. Marcus tried to laugh it off. Everything all right, Mr. Dragunov? His voice cracked on the last word. Nikolai didn't look at him. Leave us, he said quietly. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Marcus hesitated, just for a fraction of a second, and that hesitation told me everything. One of the men from the corner booth stood, broad as a doorway, eyes flat and waiting. Marcus swallowed and slid off the stool, vanishing into the crowd like smoke dispersing under bright light. Only then did Nikolai release my wrist. The imprint of his fingers lingered on my skin, warm and possessive. You saw something, he said. It wasn't a question. I don't know what you mean, I managed, but the lie barely made it past my lips. His gaze flicked to the untouched vodka, then back to me. You do not write warnings to strangers for nothing. My pulse thudded in my ears. He intersected your drink. He was too eager. And he added something. You are certain? Yes. A bead of silence stretched between us, thick and dangerous. Then, without breaking eye contact, he picked up the glass and handed it to one of his men who had appeared at his shoulder without a sound. Test it, he said. The man disappeared. Nikolai folded the napkin I'd written on and slipped it into his inner jacket pocket, as if it were a document worth preserving. You will come with me, he said. My stomach dropped. I have a shift. Not anymore. I can't just leave. You already did, he replied calmly. The moment you slid that across the bar, there was no scene, no shouting, just the quiet, irreversible shift of my life sliding off its axis. 10 minutes later, I was in the back of a black sedan that smelled faintly of leather and something colder. Control, maybe. The city lights blurred past the tinted windows while Nikolai sat beside me, one arm resting along the seat behind my shoulders without touching me, his presence filling the space. Who taught you to notice? He asked. My father, I said before I could stop myself. And what did he do? Imports. Exports. A half-truth. He studied me. He is no longer alive. It wasn't a guess. No. And he died because he failed to see something? The accuracy of it made my throat tighten. Because he trusted someone he shouldn't have. Nikolai gave a small nod, as if that confirmed a private theory. We are not so different, you and I, he said. I didn't respond. The car descended into a private underground garage beneath a building that scraped the night sky. The elevator required a key card and a fingerprint. By the time we stepped into the penthouse, I understood something clearly. This was not a home. It was a fortress disguised as luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the river, lights shimmering like scattered diamonds. The interior was all steel, glass, dark leather. Minimal. Precise. You will stay here, Nikolai said, removing his jacket and draping it over a chair. You're kidnapping me. No, he corrected. I am protecting you. I don't need protection. His eyes met mine. Marcus Hale is dead. The words hit like a physical blow. What? He was found in his apartment 20 minutes ago. His tone remained steady. An apparent suicide. The room tilted slightly. That's not possible. It is convenient, he replied. Which means whoever sent him is thorough. Understanding seeped in slowly and coldly. They'll think I know, I whispered. They will know you spoke to me. They will know I took you. He stepped closer, Not threatening, but close enough that I felt the heat of him. That makes you a liability to them. And what am I to you? He held my gaze for a long moment. An advantage. The honesty unsettled me more than a lie would have. I want to go home. Your apartment was searched an hour ago, he said. Professionals. Quiet. Efficient. Fear slid down my spine. He wasn't exaggerating. They are cleaning every loose thread, he continued. Marcus. Evidence. And now you. I wrapped my arms around myself. So what happens? You stay here, he said simply, until I know who ordered the hit. And if I refuse? His expression didn't change. You won't. Because we both understood the alternative. He moved to a bar cart and poured himself a drink from a different bottle, and this time I watched carefully. No interruptions. No vials. Tomorrow, he said, you will reconstruct the evening for me. Every face. Every movement. You saw something others did not. I should have felt trapped. Instead, beneath the fear, beneath the shock, something unfamiliar flickered. Purpose. For the first time since my father's death, noticing something had mattered. You trust my judgment that much? I asked quietly. He took a slow sip, eyes never leaving mine. I trust your eyes, he said. And somehow, those 4 words felt more dangerous than the poisoned drink ever had. By morning, the penthouse felt less like a cage and more like a war room. Nikolai stood before a wall-sized screen, replaying security footage from the Ember Lounge, the gray light of dawn cutting sharp lines across his face. He looked composed, precise, but there was tension beneath the surface, the quiet fury of a man who had almost been buried because someone believed he was expendable. Show me again, he said. I stepped closer, forcing myself to relive every second of that night. Marcus near the host stand. The nervous energy. The moment the man in the gray coat approached. There, I said, pointing. Pause it. The image froze, grainy, imperfect, but clear enough. The ring, I said. Zoom in. Nikolai did. The picture sharpened just enough to make out the shape on the man's pinky finger, a silver band carved with a hawk. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. That belongs to Victor Halavai, he said quietly. He arranges contracts for people who prefer not to get their hands dirty. So someone hired him. Yes. And Marcus was disposable. Very. The word hung between us like smoke. Marcus was already dead. Officially a suicide. Unofficially erased. Which meant the person behind this wasn't nervous. They were careful. Nikolai turned off the screen and faced me fully. You noticed what my men did not, he said. I just pay attention. That, he replied, stepping closer, is why you are still alive. A shiver ran through me, not entirely from fear. What happens now? I asked. Now I find out who paid Victor. And me? His gaze softened just slightly, steel-tempered but not gone. You stay here. As what? I pressed. A witness? A liability? As an advantage? The honesty struck deeper than manipulation ever could. You could let me go, I said quietly. Disappear me from this. And leave you unprotected? His tone sharpened. Your apartment was searched. Marcus is dead. If they suspect you warned me, you will not be given a second chance. The reality of that settled heavily in my chest. Outside, the city moved as if nothing had happened. Cars flowed along the river. People hurried to work. Somewhere, someone believed their plan had nearly succeeded. They'll try again, I said. Yes, Nikolai agreed calmly. They will. There was no bravado in it. Just certainty. He extended his hand. Not commanding, not forceful. An offer. Stay, he said. Not an order. A choice. I looked at him. At the controlled danger, the calculated restraint. The man who had chosen to test the drink instead of my loyalty. The night I slid that napkin across the bar, I stopped being invisible. Now there was no going back. I placed my hand in his. Not because I was trapped. Not because I was afraid. But because I had already crossed the line. And this time, I was choosing which side of it I would stand on.